Hi there, my name is Rachel Reynolds and I work for the Maine SNAP Ed program for healthy communities of the capital area. So I wanted to come to you today just to talk a little bit about herbs. Um, I like growing herbs pretty much because they're super simple to do and they don't take up a lot of space. A lot of times when we think about, spring, summer, we start to think about gardening and growing things. And what I found is herbs are one of the easiest things to grow, and that's for a couple of different reasons. First off, it doesn't take up a lot of space. So herbs are really good to grow in a container, which is great if you're like in an apartment building or you have a small home or a small yard. You don't need a whole lot of space, just a small container to get going. Okay, so you can use pretty much um, any container that would suit however many herbs that you'd like to grow. There are a few things that you need to be aware of. You just want to make sure that it is a food safe container, something that hasn't had anything in it that could be really harmful to you or your family. I like to just kind of get things as I go, like at the local garden center. And I was lucky to be able to find a number of these last fall on clearance. So when you get a container, you do want to think about making sure that you have proper drainage. So when I got these, they did not have any holes in the bottom of them. So I did put holes in it. I just drilled a few holes in the bottom. And then I put a layer of rock. And the reason I did that is A, it helps the drainage, but it also makes sure that you're not losing soil through the bottom where the holes are. Okay, and then I picked out just an assortment of things that I know I enjoy having and will use often. So I have some thyme, I have some oregano, I have rosemary, I have parsley, and I have a couple of things that I haven't tried before just because they looked interesting. I do like sage, and I got a pineapple sage, which smells amazing, by the way. Just to give it a try. But I usually stick to things that I know I'm going to use a lot in my cooking. So containers or just plants in general, you want to make sure that you're putting them in a spot that the plants are going to get about 6 hours of direct sunlight each day, just to help in their growing. If you have a little bit less than that, that's okay. But the good thing with the containers is if you have a spot where you can move it, so keeping it in the sun a little bit longer, that can be helpful as well. The other thing I really enjoy about containers is that I can actually bring it inside when the weather starts to get bad, which it helps me to extend the life and the use of the plants that I have growing. If you do bring your container inside, you do of course want to set it on something to catch any of the water coming through so that it doesn't ruin your floor. Okay. Um, when you plant, you want to make sure that you're using a potting soil. So you don't want to just dig up soil from your yard. Um, it does typically will not drain right, and also without having it tested, you don't know what kinds of things are in the soil. There could be contaminants from old lead paint or places where people have parked on the yard and have leaked oil or other fluids. So it's better to be safe and buy soil for potting. And when I pot, I keep it about an inch away from the top, just so when I do water it, I don't have the soil flowing over the edge, which is really nice, especially if it's indoors. And I check and I water it usually every couple of days because the containers will dry out faster than just your average like garden bed. So herbs grow really quickly, and they may grow a little faster than you're able to use them. So there's a couple of different things that I like to do. First of all, I just watch them. I don't want any of them to go to seed. And what I mean by that is that they will start to flower. And once they've flowered and then gone to seed, they're kind of past their use. So what I do is I just keep an eye on them. And as they're growing, I come along and I will pinch them off, which means I just kind of take the top off of it to keep it from flowering. You can also do that with a pair of kitchen scissors if you don't want to use your fingers. So once I've gone along and I've pinched them off, if I find that I can't use them quickly enough, there's a couple of different things that I will do. I will oftentimes have a lot of them, so I'll lay them on a baking sheet and I just put my oven to the lowest temperature setting. I spread the herbs out in a single layer across the baking sheet and I put them in the oven to dry. I'll usually leave the oven on for about 15 or 20 minutes at its lowest temperature. I'll check on them to see how they're doing. If there's a thick layer, it might take a little bit longer, but it usually is just a thin layer of them. And then I'll turn the oven off and let the herbs just sit in the oven to cool while they continue to dry. After they're dried, I just put them into an airtight container. Usually I just use small mason jars to do that, and then I use them as I need them. The other thing that you can do, which I do like to do as well, is you can use an ice cube tray, so just any ice cube tray, and you can put whatever liquid you want to. A lot of times I'll use pasta sauce. You can do vegetable stock, chicken stock, beef stock, even things like butter or oil. And I chop the herbs up really finely and I put them into the ice cube trays with whatever liquid I want. And then when they're done freezing, I pop them out of the trays and I put them into a Ziploc bag that I've labeled. So this one has garlic and Italian herbs in it, and I just did this last week. That way, as I'm cooking, if I find that I want to ramp up the flavor on whatever I'm making, I can just take out as few or as many of the ice cubes as I want to and pop them into my dish to add tons of really great fresh flavor. So one of the benefits of doing that is it really helps to cut back on salt as well, because you're getting so much flavor from the herbs that you don't really miss having as much salt in your dish. Okay, so things that you can use these in would be like soups. You can put them in sauces. You can put them in like simple pasta dishes, potato dishes, whatever you want. Okay, so if you are interested in gardening and container gardening or any kind of gardening really, a great resource would be the Maine Cooperative Extension website. They have endless information about all different kinds of gardening topics. And if you're looking for ideas on how to use herbs or just find different recipes that are healthy and inexpensive for your family, you can go to the mainsnaped.org website and we have a recipe finder. I hope you found this useful and enjoyed it, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.